Israel's education is under fire following new reports that teachers across the country are apparently being told to avoid the topic of evolution altogether. Indeed, school curriculum in Israel was reformed in recent years, and at this time, even the word evolution is largely absent from the newest edition of biology textbooks. AlTV's Brett Allen Smith joins me to discuss this. Now, Brett, first off, where are these reports coming from?
Thanks, Aaron. So, yeah, these stories are mostly coming from the teachers themselves. For what I understand, a growing number of teachers have stressed that the government from the Education Ministry have basically implied that they need to avoid that topic of evolution altogether in the classrooms. And further to that, their training now allegedly no longer includes any preparation on how to present evolution or teach it to their students. And reports even said that in elementary schools you don't find evolution in the textbooks at all. In middle school, those words do appear in some books, though not everywhere, and if they do, it's only as a part of a separate discussion topic altogether. Where the curriculum used to focus on the theory of evolution, now there's a section on genetic modifications and environmental adoption instead. So yeah, if these accounts are true, that would mean that evolution has been almost universally wiped out from schools altogether.
All right, so let's address that. Evolution, like so much of science, is of course just a theory. But as evidence has mounted supporting evolution, that theory has indeed become the fundamental backbone of how science explains life on planet Earth. It's a theory deeply rooted in proven science. And in scientific lingo, a theory is really the best supported idea unless something better comes along. It doesn't, we're not using the theory like in layman's term where it's like, it's just theoretical.
Right,
like,
no, it's sustained theory.
Exactly. Yeah. But the religious people in any religion, say that, scientific explanation sometimes defies the literal interpretation of man's origins in the Old Testament. People who take the Bible literally would therefore believe that mankind and the earth is only a few thousand years old as opposed to millions of years old according to science. Right. And that's why the topic of evolution itself is a controversial one in Israel.
Right, and so to illustrate that, I want to share some statistics how we just got in. So as of 2016, half of the Jews in Israel believed in that theory of evolution. Half. And that was before the curriculum was changed by the Education Ministry. And I got to remind you something else, by the way. At the same time that students are not learning evolution, they are taking another class that's always been there, religious studies, Torah studies. That's a mandatory part of every Israeli curriculum, regardless of your religion. So now, Israel is pretty unique, right, in that respect, because obviously in the U.S. there's, a fundamental separation of church and state in public schools. But in Israel, they don't make that separation or that distinction. Those institutions are quite merged. And one of the results of that so far has been that, you have at least half the country of Jews believing a literal reading of the Bible, the Old Testament, over widely believed scientific theory. So I'm not here to say whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, or you should believe this, shouldn't believe that, but I am here to say that this is what the Education Ministry even kind of says that they want. In response to these allegations of excluding evolution, the ministry has said that the theory of evolution itself is taught as an optional class in high schools. Optional in high school only. So I think that those statements say a lot about what they want kids to learn and not to learn, perhaps.
Sure, and again, I want to stress something that you said, which is that this isn't necessarily a matter of fundamental right versus fundamental wrong, but totally. Evolution is a critical theory not because it has anything to do with us existentially, but it's because it's a backbone of so many other scientific studies and therefore progress. Right. So we don't want our Israeli society to be missing out and getting left behind in scientific discourse.
Right.
In any event, thanks for the report, Brett.